So I'm sure you guys remember on January 6th, you had what wasn't a sad attempt at an insurrection. Functionally, I think it's fair to call it an insurrection or a riot, to be honest. But Trump was prodding it on all along. And then when it happened, he kept prodding it on, sat there in silence, didn't really want to quash it until he knew it was going to fail. And then when it began to fail, he kind of went out there and distanced himself a little bit from it. Like, I don't even know what's happening here, bro. What are you talking about? But now he may have hit a new low when it comes to January 6th, because somebody brought up to him the comments Pence made recently. Now, Pence, this is the first time he's gone after Trump in any sort of an aggressive way. And since he's a total idiot, he did it at like the most establishment setting ever. It was all like, it was a closed door, no cameras allowed, nothing but a group of elite insiders with a colossal amount of money. And in that setting, he went after Trump and he basically said, like, look, history's going to judge this guy. And it ain't going to be kind, because we saw what happened on January 6th. He's largely responsible for it. And there was violence and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure you guys all saw that. Well, a reporter asked Trump what he thinks of what Pence said. And Trump responded. So here's an article from The Guardian, quote, "You can blame him. Trump shifts responsibility for January 6th on Pence. Ex-president's remarks come after his former vice president said that history will hold Trump accountable for the violence." So I'll give you the direct quote here. Here's the first portion of the article. "Donald Trump on Monday responded to Mike Pence's contention that history will hold him accountable for the January 6th attack on Congress, saying the deadly attack was his former vice president's fault. Quote, had he sent the votes back to the legislatures, they wouldn't have had a problem with January 6th. So in many ways, you can blame him for January 6th. Trump told reporters on a flight to Iowa for a campaign appearance. He was referring to his attempt to have Pence, in his role as Senate president, refuse to certify election results in battleground states on grounds of supposed electoral fraud, thereby overturning Trump's conclusive defeat by Joe Biden. Trump added, quote, had he sent them back to Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, I believe, number one, you would have had a different outcome. But I also believe you wouldn't have had January 6th, as we call it. His argument is, if you just stole the election, we wouldn't have had January 6th, because these people wouldn't have been mad, because we would have gotten what we wanted, which is stealing the election and me back in the presidency. Wow, man. Wow, that is low. Let me remind you guys of something. The mob that day was chanting, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence. They had a noose with them. Look, I despise Mike Pence. I disagree with him on 99% of issues. But you got to call a spade a spade. And you got to call balls and strikes, to mix analogies here. He found the one shred of integrity he had left to stand up to Trump on this issue. This is literally the only time in 4 years that Mike Pence stood up to Donald Trump. The one time. A lot of people don't know this, but Pence, as soon as you started to hear the rumblings of like the right-wing base saying, oh, we think the election was stolen, and Trump tried to feed into that and started reading the conspiracy blogs and started believing it and started going down that path, Pence sought out counsel from Reagan-era judges who he believes in deeply. People who nobody can question their conservative credentials. I mean, they are down the line wrong on everything. Economic, social issues, you name it. So he sought out the advice, the counsel of Reagan-era judges who he respects, and nobody could question their conservative credentials. And one of the guys, I'm blanking on his name now. If you know it, post it in the comments, because we covered this a while ago. I just don't remember his name. One of the guys said, Trump is so far away from correct that you can't even wrap your mind around it. Like, he has zero basis at all to make the claims he's making and to come up with these legal avenues that are not real. Even this idea that Pence could say, I reject it, send it back. That's not real. That's all made up. And that's what this judge was telling Pence. Saying, look, you might want it to be the case. Trump definitely wants it to be the case, but these legal theories are completely and utterly made up. It is not a thing. And so, in other words, the election's already over. This is like a symbolic procedural nonsense thing. That's all it is. You have no power in this instance to overturn the election. Like, who the hell are you? And Pence believed him, thank God. And so he stood on that. And as a result of that, even there were reports that Trump behind the scenes was like, hey, these people who are screaming, hang Mike Pence, they're not wrong. These people chanting it, they're not wrong. And now he has the nerve to blame Pence for what happened on January 6th. We've seen this question asked of Pence because he's running for president now. Like, hey, is there any area where you disagree with Donald Trump? And like the one thing he brings up is, I didn't like January 6th. I didn't want that. He kind of did. That's the one thing. And Trump's like, totally, blame him for that. Blame him for that thing. By the way, that's actually not the only area where Pence and Trump disagree. But in the other areas where they disagree, Trump is actually better. Like, for example, cutting Social Security and Medicare. Pence is like, rock and roll, let's do it. Trump doesn't want to do that. National abortion ban. Pence says, I would sign a national abortion ban to make it illegal in all states from the moment of conception. And Trump doesn't want to do that. He's a little more moderate on that issue because he's clearly not as fundamentalist religious as Pence is. But anyway, man, this really is a new low, dude. This guy nearly lost his life on that day. You had people searching for him to do harm to him. And now you're blaming him for it. Truly astonishing, because nobody was more loyal to Trump than Pence. Just this one thing that Trump wanted, it was obviously something he couldn't accommodate if he wanted to sleep at all for the rest of his life. Asking him to destroy the peaceful transition of power. I mean, could you imagine casually destroying American democracy completely, whatever remnants we have left of it? And being able to live with yourself? I couldn't imagine that. Apparently Pence couldn't either. So Trump is still furious with him over that. And by the way, that is the exact reason why Trump would never pick him again to be VP. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.